Hello everyone, Jeff here for Respawn Studios, back with my second episode of my new Dive and Achievement Horror series, and you see I'm already on a different account. I'm going to spare you any story, but essentially what I'm going to be doing with this video is in much more detail than I have in videos in my previous Achievement Horror series, breaking down how to get the full 1000 gamer score in 20 games, how to get you 20,000 gamer score in what should only take you about 30 hours. So if you have like a 3-day weekend or maybe in your spring break and you haven't played these games before, you want to set aside maybe just a couple hours a day for these games. You could probably get a couple thousand gamer score each day. Now, I'm probably going to do this, if this is well received, do this for 20 different games for the next couple months. For at least the next 5 months. I could talk about 20 different games, break them down, give my suggestions for them. Alright, but the top 2 rows here are just games I enjoy playing, getting the achievements for, but these bottom 2 rows here are the games that I have pulled out for this game, or for this video. Gone Home was actually a free game with gold, as was Numa. NBA 2K17 Prelude is free. You might remember Fast and the Furious, which I might include in another video, is also free. Energy Cycle is only $3. Asemblance just came out 2 weeks ago. It's $8. I think Whispering Willows is $10. Decay The Mare, I believe, is $10. The Park is randomly like $12, I want to say. And then Edith Finch, Virginia, and the 10 in the bottom row, I think are all $15 to $20. So none of these will set you back more than $20, and only Virginia should take you more than 2 hours, and that's only because you're required to do 2 full playthroughs of Virginia, and that should only take you about maybe 3 hours total. So I'm going to break down the achievement list for all of these in details, tell you which ones are the hardest, what to do, whose guides to follow, what to focus on as you're playing the game. So if you're trying to get your gamer score higher, this hopefully will not break the bank for you. So again, some of these games were free. Some of them are quite cheap. So let's start. Let's go through all of these. I accidentally got an achievement setting up a character in NBA. All right, but for Gone Home, most people know this as the notorious game that set off the walking simulator genre. A lot of the achievements are simply for playing the game, finding the collectibles, kind of standard achievements. You see there's one here for beating the whole game in less than 1 minute with no modifiers on. I'll come back to that in a second. Complete the game having found all 24 journal entries with no modifiers. There's very few modifiers. There's one that has all lights on and all doors open, stuff like that. But to do it in less than 10 minutes, I actually have a guide up, and I think it took me about 7.5 minutes if you want to follow my own achievement guides. There's some interesting secret achievements, like have all of the sinks on in the house and stuff like that. One is to find a special ball and dunk it and find this cat video. But to do this one, beat the game in less than 1 minute, it will probably take you a few tries. If you do it perfectly, it even takes you like 52 to 54 seconds. Essentially, once you're used to the game, I think I even have a video myself up for this. When you start the game, you look left, open a cabinet, move the duck, get the key, come in the front door. To the right of the main staircase, you open up a secret panel, you get the key to the attic. You go up, open the attic, go up, go to the notebook, and the game's over. You could skip everything about the game. It's actually not that bad, but again, it'll probably take you a few tries. I suggest playing the game normally a few times first. Okay, for Numa, Breath of Life, almost all of these are for simply beating different chapters of the game. You'll get at least 700 that way. And then there's these 3 optional ones, Soul, Body, and Spirit. These are special, harder puzzles. They're kind of hidden. So if you follow a guide for this game, I think I've mentioned him before, Maka91 Productions. He does a lot of 100% guides that I've used before that are very good. So he has guides for most of these games, actually, I think. So if you follow his Numa guide, you could probably get all of the achievements in less than an hour. And again, that was a free game with gold. NBA 2K17 was actually just free normally. To complete a tutorial game, this actually has to be done for the main menu because the game itself is only like 4 games. Now, these two achievements are the hard ones in that you might not know where to go. So you have to purchase an attribute upgrade once you've already played a couple games in the campaign to have earned enough. You just add to shooting or dribbling or whatever. And then this one is actually, to me, the harder one, because you not only have to have played a few games to earn enough credits, you then buy like a shot celebration or something like for James Harden or LeBron James. But you don't just buy it. You then have to go into like my player customization and make sure it's equipped, which a lot of people can forget. So just make sure you do the 2 steps. You buy any kind of celebration at all, and you actually can't buy a lot of them until you've, again, advanced pretty far in the campaign, and then you can only buy like 6. So it might take you a few minutes just to find which one you can buy, but then make sure you also go ahead and equip it. Okay, energy cycle. If you're an achievement whore and you're watching this video, you probably know energy cycle very, very well. It's known as one of the easiest games. You simply beat it. There are only 24 levels, or 25? I think it's 24. But instead of watching a video, which could be confusing, you have to keep pausing it, I would suggest Googling a Steam guide. Steam, of course, the computer service. A guy put up screenshots of all of the levels. And he has like either a 1 or 2 written over which dots you have to hit a couple times. Essentially in the game, you're making everything the same color. So if you just go through his screenshots and hit each dot once or twice, follow that, you'll be done in about 15 minutes for the 1000 gamer score. Okay, Asemblance is a game that came out about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. There are 10 achievements. There's actually only 8 on PlayStation. A lot of them are for doing normal things, but again, Maka has a guide up, and you could do this in less than a half hour. There's one hard ending in that you have to do it in a kind of precise timing, open a drawer and look at a hole. But it's not even that bad. I got it on my first try, and as people suggest, you might want to use a stopwatch. I didn't even do that. So it's really not that bad. This game should take you less than a half hour, and it even has like 5 different endings. It's very, very short, very easy. And again, Asemblance is only $8. It won't set you back all that much. Whispering Willows has been out for several years now. There's a lot of small achievements. So again, I would suggest following a guide like Maka, or a lot of people have 100% guides for this. You see a lot of people have beaten this game that have played it. So a lot of people get this simply because it's an achievement game. There's a couple collectible things to find. Find the Abstraction Games logo. There's like a picture in Observatory that is one of these, and then like a framed picture in a house that are 2 different things like this. But a lot of them are just for solving the puzzle and getting through the game. It's not a great game, so I would definitely suggest just following a guide, having the audio play as you're playing through the game. Just do those steps, and it should take you about an hour and a half, less than 2 hours for sure. Decay The Mare is kind of a classic point and click game. It's also in the horror genre, though it's not all that scary. So you're telling your character just where to move and what to interact with. Now, a lot of the things in this game are puzzles that could take you a long time to figure out on your own. Some of them are very confusing, like one with pictures of flowers. They don't seem to logically make sense with where they go. But if you follow a guide, as with most of these games, it's very short. This will probably take you somewhere between 35 and 45 minutes to get the full 1000. Now, at the end, there are 2 different endings, so you would choose one ending and then reload the game and simply make the other choice. And that'll only add about 5 minutes to your game, and you'll get the full 1000. Very easy. The Park, the game I probably played the most to get the full 1000 in. At least 25 full times I've played this. So if you have any interest in me putting up a 100% guide for this game, I could do that. A lot of them, though, a lot of people have put up 100% guides. A lot of the achievements are not missable. I'll quickly talk about the couple that could be missable. Obtain a flashlight you have to get. Roller coaster ride is easy. So the Shocking Revelations, the Mist, and a Picture are the 3 missable ones, I think. The Mist is at the very start of the game. Instead of entering into the park, turn around, exit the parking lot, and head up the street into the white mist. and just keep walking into it, and eventually you'll be walking back toward the parking lot and you'll get that achievement. Shocking Revelation, this is at the bumper cars ride, which is I think the second or third ride you come to. Before you go up onto the bumper car area, go to the right, and there's like a car battery on top of one on the right hand side, and you interact with that. You get a little cutscene. And Family Ties. Oh, and then Chad underneath this. Family Ties is a photograph. I think this is the second ride you come to, the one that's kind of on an island. You have to cross a bridge. Before you leave the area, after going on the ride, to the right on the bench, right before you go through the archway, the first bench on the right will have the photograph. And then Chad. This is actually from the first ride. The conversation with Chad, the Tunnel of Tales. You're in a swan and you're hearing like a Hansel and Gretel story. Keep the camera turned to the left, and you're going to see the guy wearing the Chad the Chipmunk costume. Very easy. Okay, what do we have next? What Remains of Edith Finch, one of my absolute favorite games in general. And you could also get all of the achievements in probably under an hour and a half. I actually have a little video compilation I made of how to get every achievement. A lot of them are easy. You are doing a lot of different story segments. Listening to The Drunken Sailor, you have to make sure before you eat a guy that you listen to everything he's singing. It'll take a couple minutes. One is you have to replay a story. One is watch something in the credits. But it's very easy. Again, I have my own achievement guides up for it if you want to follow them. But it's a great game too. But again, that game will only cost you, I think, $15 or $20 and take you less than 2 hours. All right, Virginia, a game you play as an FBI agent. You just interact with things, essentially. You do very little walking. A lot of these are collectibles. There are feathers and flowers that you can collect. You get an achievement for the first one of each of them and then for having all of them. And then a lot of the achievements are for interacting with certain objects. Like you pick up a pin that eventually someone else is wearing later in the game. You pick up a bandana that someone's wearing. You look at them later in the game. You pick up like a wooden piece that's on a miniature model later. You look at a pizza menu and you have ordered pizza. So it's a lot of little things like that. But if you follow a guide, it should only take you about an hour and a half. And then the final achievement is to play the game a second time. So once you've played it and gotten all of that, you could just take your time and go through it again, or vice versa. Vanishing of Ethan Carter, an awesome game on PS4. I actually have, again, a lot of trophy guides up for this game myself. Most of them are for doing the normal investigations, solving different murders. And then there are some strange ones. There's an astronaut one. There's a 3-part one where you find a grenade, throw the grenade, and eventually pick up a gun. There's one with a sea creature in the bottom of a cave that could be very confusing, and there's a stealth sequence for it. So I would definitely suggest looking up a guide for the Tale of the Sea Monster, I think it's called. But again, less than 2 hours for the full 1,000. Very enjoyable game. The Bunker, kind of another point-and-click interactive movie kind of game. There are a bunch of toys you can pick up. There is a puzzle piece at the start of the game. In the room where your mom has died and you're reading to her, there's a puzzle on the wall. You have to have interacted with that puzzle to see that there's a missing piece. Otherwise, you won't know that there's a piece later in the game you can pick up. So make sure you do that. And then at the end of the game, there are 2 different endings. So you could finish the game, reload where the last checkpoint was, and make the other choice. You do not have to play the whole game twice. Find all computers, find all documents, find all cassettes. There's actually very few of them, but the game is short. Some places you can only go once. So again, I would suggest following like an achievement roadmap from a website or a video guide. You'll definitely get all the achievements in less than 2 hours. Tacoma. This is actually the second game from the Gone Home team, Fulbright, and it's awesome. It's a very cool game. I would suggest you just play through the game once and enjoy it. You'll probably get about half the achievements that way. And then there's some really cool things. Find all of the VR cats. Made a 3-point shot in Micro G basketball, and then there's one to make a shot with a skull that you find in the basketball net. And then a lot of these are Just make sure that you've interacted with all of the people, listened to all their stories. But if you follow a guide, this will even take you less than an hour to get the full 1,000 gamer score. But it's a fantastic game experience, a really cool story. So again, I would suggest just playing it through once normally, and then following like a guide to maybe mop up any achievements you might have missed. Nevermind is a game where you play at this strange institute where you go inside of people's heads and you deal with their mental demons, trying to help them get over things. I think there's only 5 levels, but the kind of strange thing with this game is that you have to play each level to actually beat it, and then you have to replay each level to be able to do what's called neuromapping, where it adds in these special things that you can find. You see, these are all listed as rare achievements. Very few people actually went back and did it. Now, the guides I used when I got the full 1,000, this guy had individual part guides up. They're each about 15 minutes for the levels. They're very simple, but again, you have to replay each of the 5 levels and make sure you pick up all of the important memory pieces, and you'll get the full 1,000, as with almost all of these, in less than 2 hours. Late Shift is a movie where you simply make choices for what the character is going to say or do. It's actually a very cool story. A lot of you see there's 7 endings. A lot of them are very, very similar. So this will only take you 2 playthroughs. One, you have to make a couple of specific choices to lead to scenes that you would not have seen in the other playthrough. But you see there's 7 endings. How the hell do you get that in 2 playthroughs? Well, luckily, a lot of the endings, again, stem from the same place. So you reload the game after you hit the achievement ending, reload, and make like maybe 4 different choices. And you'll end up with another 50-point ending achievement. So not bad. You'll probably get the full 1,000, again, in under an hour and a half. Fragments of Him. Almost every achievement in this game is unmissable. They're just simply for playing. There are 2 that are missable, though. You have to make different choices in certain story sequences. Now, I think the way I did it is you play that story sequence, make the choice, and then quit, reload the game, and make the other choice. So you don't have to replay the game again. But again, it'll take you less than an hour and a half, probably. It's a very short game. Don't Knock Twice. There are full walkthroughs of this, which are about 35-40 minutes. That is 2 full playthroughs. You don't even have to do 2 full playthroughs, actually. I think a lot of people get that wrong. You could do all of this in 1 playthrough. You find all of the collectibles. Now, the easiest thing to screw up is to light a candle by accident. In the game, you either are holding a cell phone out or a lit candle. Most often, try and have your phone out instead. And if the game's too dark, turn up the brightness. But it's mostly just finding collectibles, interacting with things, finding these little Russian dolls and throwing them so that they break, and then a couple optional things. But again, to me, you could get the full 1,000 in 1 20-minute playthrough, or maybe up to a half hour. But 1 playthrough is all that you need, and it's a 1,000 gamer score. All right, Blackwood Crossing. It's actually a pretty cool game. Kind of a freaky little mystery about these 2 kids looking for, well, you'll see. I don't want to spoil anything. But there's a bunch of collectibles that you can miss, some movie posters, some toys that you find. A lot of the achievements you get simply by playing. I think I had like 600 just playing through the game, but if you follow a guide, again, as with almost all of these, follow the achievement roadmap or video guide, you'll get the full 1,000 in less than 90 minutes. Okay, 2 more here. Among the Sleep is a very disturbing little horror game where you're a boy and his stuffed animal bear that talks, trying to fight back against things. This achievement Strike you get at the very start of the game. You knock over bowling pins in your room. Several of the achievements are simply then for playing, but a lot of them are collectibles, drawings. Find all of the drawings and levels. Find and play all the instruments. I think there's only 1 instrument per level, and it might even be less. But as with, again, all of these, if you're following an achievement roadmap or video guide, it will take you less than 2 hours to get the full 1,000. And finally, Abzu. Abzu, I think, is only $10 or $15. It might be up to $20. But again, nothing in this video is over $20, and none of the things will take you probably over 2, maybe 3 hours at the most to get the full 1,000. Abzu has by far the most collectibles of any in this video, but they're also not that bad. So again, if you want to follow Maka's guide, it's very well done. I followed it and just paused every now and then to make sure I picked up the collectibles. There's a lot of fossils you find. There's a lot of pools of fish, but it's actually pretty simple. Okay, so that'll do it for this video. There's my little kind of in-depth guide of how to get the full 1000 gamer score, where to go, what to look for, what to keep in mind as you're playing each of them. So that's 20,000 gamer score, and if you combine those 20 different games, it should take you less than 30 hours total of playtime. So again, if you want to do that in 1 week, 1 weekend, awesome. All right, so I hope this guide was helpful. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know in the comments if you found this type of video useful and I could do it with more sets of games in the future. But this is Jeff from Respawn Studios, and I'll be back with more soon.